1965, barely less than a month before Singapore was to separate from Malaysia, a battle for political dominance was being waged in the heart of Chinatown. People's Action Party's Lee Kun Choi and Barisan Socialists' Ong Chang Sang were fighting for the Hong Lim seat in the Legislative Assembly. A by-election was called after the sudden resignation of Ong Eng Guan, the former mayor and National Development Minister. The PAP had lost Hong Lim twice in a row, first in the 1961 by-election, and second, the 1963 general election. Ong Eng Guan won in both elections, given his popularity with the Chinese community in Hong Lim. The result of this by-election would determine the fate of Singapore and the political legitimacy of the PAP.
Why did the PAP win in 1965? Because the people in Hong Lim saw Mr. Lee and his group fight back. They didn't give way. If the PAP had been defeated in that by-election in 1965, I think history would have been completely different. It would have been a signal to the Malaysians. The PAP had a hold on Singapore is not strong, possibly arresting Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and ruling Singapore directly from Kuala Lumpur.
Relations between the Singapore leadership and the federal government in Kuala Lumpur were not strong. Ideological differences led to frequent political conflicts after Singapore became part of Malaysia on 16 September 1963. The PAP wanted a Malaysian Malaysia where everybody would be treated equally, regardless of their race and religion. But the federal government had a pro-Malay agenda and wanted the Malays to have special rights. Relations were further strained when the PAP brought together 4 other Malaysian opposition parties to form the Malaysian Solidarity Convention to campaign for a Malaysian Malaysia.
They say they are worried about the Malays. I say, so are we. We want to raise their standard of living. And we will, and faster than they can. And at the end of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, a new generation will grow up that will no longer respond to the special VHF they use. They'll be tuning into the multilingual network. They'll be thinking like us, working like us, trained like us, prepared to live with us like Malaysians. Then we win. And history is on our side.
A month earlier in May, Lee Kuan Yew addressed the Malaysian Parliament and spoke against the alliance government's communal policy. In what was described as an electric performance, Lee Kuan Yew spoke for an hour without notes in fluent Malay.
Tetapi, jikalau saya di rumah nak cakap bahasa muda saya, takkan saya tak setia kepada Malaysia. Supaya Menteri dari Sarawak takkan dia kalau balik rumah panjangnya dia cakap bahasanya dia tak ada tak setia kepada Malaysia. Saya tidak percaya. Dia masih selalu tak setia.
The backbenchers were spellbound. They understood every word. That was the turning point. They perceived him as a dangerous man who could one day be the Prime Minister of Malaya. Well, this was the speech that changed history.
It was against this backdrop that the Hong Lim by-election was held. The people knew what was at stake: to support the PAP stand of Malaysian Malaysia or Barisan's Crush Malaysia. As Lee Kuan Yew argued, the by-election would prove to the alliance government that the people of Singapore were all for Malaysian Malaysia. With support from the Alliance Party, Barisan viewed Malaysian Malaysia as a selfish PAP slogan, communal and neo-colonialist. On the night of 10th July 1965, the results of the by-election were announced. The PAP won 60% of the votes.
It also shows that the people do not want a communal Malaysia. They want to put an end to communalism. The ideal of a Malaysian Malaysia will ultimately triumph.
triumph was short-lived. 2 weeks later, Tunku Abdul Rahman decided that Singapore should go its own way. On 9th August 1965, Singapore was no longer part of Malaysia and had to survive on its own.